Now we are going to see the quality plan that is applicable for a toughened glass, and the standard what we follow is EN 12150. If you see the glass coming to toughened glass, it is coming from cutting, grinding, washing. So what are all the standards applicable in cutting, grinding, washing that will be measured in the tempering as well? And the main functioning in tempering, that is the test parameters what we look at tempering is overall bow, roller wave, edge lift, fragmentation test, and the strength that we are going to focus in this particular tempering department. Now let us understand one by one each test parameter. Let us take overall bow. The tool what we use to measure the overall bow is a straight ruler or a stretched wire, and through the help of taper gauge we are going to measure the overall bow. And how we are going to measure? We need to see whether it is a clear uncoated float glass and whether it is an enameled glass. In order to measure the overall bow, the allowable tolerance what is given to us is 3 mm per meter. So if my glass length is the 1000 mm, the allowable bend in that glass is 3 mm. And if my glass is an enamel glass, the overall bow is allowed is 4 mm per meter. Now let us take and the frequency of testing. The frequency of testing will be for every 2 hours or whenever there is a changeover. Now let us take the next parameter, that is the roller wave. The standard what we follow is EN 12150. The tool what we use to measure the roller wave is a roller wave gauge or a straight edge and a feeler gauge. Here also, if it is a clear float glass, then we need to, the overall roller wave is allowed is 0.3 mm, and for the enamel glass, the roller wave allowed is 0.5 mm. Now let us take the next test parameter, that is the edge lift. The standard what we follow is EN 12150. The tool what we use to measure the edge lift is a straight edge and a feeler gauge. For this, we need to see it is the edge lift is always dependent on the thickness of the glass. If my glass thickness is 3 mm, the maximum value allowed is 0.5 mm. If my thickness is between 4 to 5 mm, the maximum edge lift value is allowed is 0.4 mm. If my thickness is between 6 to 12 mm, the maximum edge lift value allowed is 0.3 mm. And for enamel glass, the edge lift allowed is 0.5 mm. And the frequency of edge lift measurement shall be for every 2 hours or whenever there is a changeover. Next, let us take the fragmentation test. Generally, by looking at the glass, if you see in a toughened glass or a heat strengthened glass or an annealed glass, by looking at the glass, one may not be able to distinguish which one is what type of a glass, whether it is an annealed or a HS or a toughened glass. That can be said through the help of fragmentation test or through the help of non-destructive method, that is with the help of stress levels. Let us take the destructive method of test, that is the fragmentation test. The standard what we follow is EN 12150, and the tools what we require is a hammer, pointing steel tool or a hammer which is weighing 75 grams or a spring loaded center punch or a similar applicants that can be hardened, which is having hardened point. And we need to see the type of glass. It is a float glass, and we need to see the thickness, whether it is a 3 mm or 4 mm or 12 mm or 15 to 25 mm. The minimum particle count, based on the particle count, we will say whether it is a heat strengthened glass or a toughened glass. For a 3 mm thickness glass, the minimum particle count should be 30. For 4 to 12 mm, the minimum particle count shall be 40. And for 15 to 25 mm, the minimum particle count shall be 30. And the frequency of testing will be for every 2 hours or whenever there is a changeover. Next, let us take non-destructive method of test, that is through stress levels, measure of stress levels. The standard what we follow is EN 12150. This we are going to measure through the one equipment known as GASP. And we need to see whether it is a clear glass or tinted glass or a coated glass. And for a toughened glass, the stress value should be more than 69 MPa or Newton per square millimeter. And the frequency of testing will be every 2 hours or whenever there is a changeover. Now we are going to see the quality plan for heat strengthened glass, and the standard that is applicable is EN 1863. The parameters what we need to check in heat strengthening process is The thickness of the glass that we have already done in cutting, grinding. The width and the length of the glass that is already we have done in cutting and grinding. Diagonal measurement, hole diameter if at all the glass is fabricated. And the actual parameters what we need to check in heat strengthening process are overall bow, roller wave, edge lift, fragmentation and mechanical strength. Now we will understand one by one the tempering heat strengthening parameters. Overall bow, the standard that is applicable is EN 1863. The tool what we use is a straight ruler or a stretched wire, and we use taper gauge to measure the deformation. Now we need to see what is the overall bow tolerance. If it is for a float glass, in a meter the overall bow allowed is 3 mm, and for enamel glass the overall bow allowed is 4 mm per meter. And the roller wave that is measured through roller wave gauge or a straight edge with the help of taper gauge. Maximum roller wave for distortion is measured is 0.3 mm, and for enamel glass it is 0.5 mm. Now let us take the edge lift. The standard what we follow is EN 1863. The tool what we use is a straight edge with the help of feeler gauge. In order to, the edge lift will be dependent on the thickness of the glass. So for a 3 mm thick, the maximum edge lift allowed is 0.5 mm. For 4 to 5 mm thick, the edge lift allowed is 0.4 mm. And for a 6 to 12 mm thicker glass, the maximum edge lift allowed is 0.3 mm. And for the enamel glass, the maximum edge lift allowed is 0.5 mm. Now let us see the fragmentation test values for the heat strengthened glass. The standard what we follow is EN 1863. The tools what we use is a pointing steel tool, hammer weighing 75 grams, spring loaded center punch or a similar applicants with a hard end point. Here we need to understand whenever we break any heat strengthened glass, we need to understand three parameters, that is at least one edge of the fragment shall reach the excluded area. The number of island fragments shall be counted and not more than 2, and each island shall be weighed. And the third parameter is what we need to understand is the particles shall be collected and weighed. So in order to understand the breakage pattern for a heat strengthened glass, we need to consider three things. First one is whenever you break the glass, one of the crack should end at the other side of the edge, and we need to see the number of islands and the particles. We need to weigh the islands and we need to weigh the particles to conclude whether it is a heat strengthening or not. And the frequency of testing shall be for every 2 hours or whenever there is a changeover. Now this is a destructive method of testing what we have seen so far. Now let us take a non-destructive method of testing of heat strengthening, that is the mechanical strength, that we are going to check through EN 1863, and the tool what we use is a gasp. In order to measure the gasp, the stress levels what we require for a heat strengthening glass is 24 to 52 MPa or Newton per square millimeter. See, and the frequency of testing shall be once in 2 hours or whenever there is a changeover. Now we will be understanding the quality plan for a toughened glass, and the standard what we follow is EN 12150. Similar to heat strengthening glass, the parameters remains the same, that is the overall bow, roller wave, edge lift, the fragmentation test and the mechanical strength. Now let us describe everything in detail. Overall bow, the standard what we follow is EN 12150. The tools what we use are straight ruler or a stretched wire with a taper gauge. The overall bow allowed per meter is 3 mm, and for enamel glass the overall bow allowed is 4 mm per meter. In a similar way, the roller wave, the gauge what we use is a roller wave gauge or a straight edge with a feeler gauge. The maximum allowable roller wave value is 0.3 mm and for enamel glass it is 0.5 mm, and the frequency of testing shall be once in 2 hours or whenever there is a changeover. Now let us take edge lift. The standard what we follow is EN 12150, and the tools what we use are straight edge and a feeler gauge, and the edge lift is dependent on the thickness of the glass. So for a 3 mm glass, the edge lift maximum value is 0.5 mm. For 4 to 5 mm, the edge lift maximum values are 0.4 mm, and for 6 to 12 mm thickness, the maximum values are 0.3 mm. And for enamel glass, the maximum edge lift allowed is 0.5 mm, and the frequency of testing will be for every 2 hours or whenever there is a changeover. Now let us understand the fragmentation concepts of the toughened glass. The standard what we follow is EN 12150. In order to do destructive method of testing, that is the fragmentation, the tools what we use are pointing steel tool, hammer weighing 75 grams, or a spring loaded center punch, similar appliance with a hardened point. And here the fragmentation count is dependent on the thickness of the glass. For a 3 mm thickness, the minimum particle count shall be 30 numbers. For 4 to 12, the minimum particle shall be 40 numbers, and for 15 to 25, the minimum particle count shall be 30 numbers, and the frequency of testing shall be for 2 hours or whenever there is a changeover. So far we have seen a destructive method of testing, that is the fragmentation. Now let us see the non-destructive method of testing, that is the mechanical strength through with the help of gasp. The minimum values for mechanical strength for a toughened glass is more than 69 Newton per square millimeter or MPa, and the frequency of testing shall be for every 2 hours or whenever there is a changeover. Now we will understand the defects that are going to arise in tempering, what are the reasons and how you are going to address. The first defect what we get in tempering is the roller waves. You see the figure, the glasses generally during a tempering process our intention is to keep the glass as flat as possible, but due to heat treatment process it is not controllable, or sometimes we get undulations on the glass. You can see here. So the reason being the temperature of the glass is too high when it is coming out of the furnace, or the roller arrangement is improper. We can overcome this issue by reducing the temperature of the furnace for heating time and align rollers properly. The next defect what we are going to get in the tempering is breakage in furnace. You can see the glass gets breakage inside the furnace. The reason being glass having cracks, thermal shock in large, furnace temperature is high while loading this thick glass, glass is already tempered or heat strengthened, that is during rework process. We can overcome these issues by manufacturing float glass without cracks, avoid loading glass at very low temperature, reduce temperature to less than 680 to 690 from 720 for thin glasses, never load furnace with already treated glasses. So we try to avoid the rework glasses. The next issue what we are going to get in tempering is the breakage in chiller, that is known as a chiller breakage. This is a common issue that every processor faces. This is a chiller breakage. The reasons being glass is unable to withstand the cooling. Edge of the glass is not proper, means it has nicks and hairline cracks. Heating time is too short or uneven. Glass has increased surface area due to sharp notches and cutouts. Quench pressure is too high, especially for thick glasses. Some nozzles are clogged. Problem of flatness exists. We can overcome these issues by increasing the heating time or furnace temperature. Make sure the glass has proper edges. Check for furnace type, whether it is radiation, change to convective system heating, increase the heating time, change nozzle openings, and check for blocked nozzles. The next issue what we are going to arise is unstable in furnace, that is the glass is bistable. You can see the reason being the glass temperature in middle is lower than on edges. We can overcome this issue by increasing the temperature in the middle by changing the temperature profile, adjust convection in furnace by changing the heating balance, increase the heating time. The next issue what we are going to face in tempering is the coating burn on surfaces. You can see here the coating got burned. The reason being coating is unable to withstand the heat. We can overcome this issue by reducing the heating time and top temperature. The next defect is coating burn on edges. You can see there is a burn on the edges. The reason being kerosene was used as a cutting oil. Finger marks of operators present in the glass. We can overcome this issue by avoiding the kerosene as a cutting oil. The oil should be recommended by the cutting machine manufacturers. Never allow glass to have finger marks inside. It contains body oils whose fire point is less than 620 degrees centigrade. Next defect you can see generally is spots or coating scratches. You can see in the figure there is a spots or coating scratches. The reason being the glass is too hot when it comes out of the furnace, or the lumps have accumulated in the roller surface, or the coated side was placed upside down, or the glass temperature is less. We can overcome these issues by reducing the temperature of the furnace or heating time. Clean the ceramic rollers. Never place the coated side on rollers, or increase the heating time or increase the quenching pressure. Next, you can see sometimes there will be an appearance issue with respect to tempered glass. You can see the grayness on the glass surface. The reason being sulfur dioxide gases were used insufficiently. We can overcome this issue by temporarily increasing sulfur dioxide gas flow. Next issue what we face in tempering is the internal cracks. You can see here the glass got internal crack. The reason being glass was too cold when it left furnace for chiller. We can overcome this issue by increasing the temperature. Next issue what we are going to get is bend. You can see the glass got cupped. You can get the bend in two ways, whether it is a concave or convex bend. The issues that are resulting the glass bending is the top surface temperature of the glass is higher than the bottom surface temperature when glass comes out of the furnace, or top side quenching power in chiller is lower than bottom side. Top surface temperature of the glass is lower than bottom temperature when glass comes out of the furnace, or top side quenching power in chiller is higher than the bottom side. We can overcome these issues by increasing the bottom temperature of the furnace or decreasing the heating balance pressure. Set furnace temperature properly so that chiller air pressure is adjusted. Reduce furnace bottom temperature or increase heating balance pressure. Increase chiller bottom quenching power. The next defect what we are going to get in tempered glass is a spontaneous breakage. That is, you can find out a double D pattern at the breakage point, and the reason being you can see here one of the impurities added to the glass. This is because of the presence of NIS or raw glass material impurities. We can overcome this issue with the help of heat soak test that is applicable for all toughened glasses. The next issue what we are going to get is the colored zones or anisotropy or iridescence or leopard spots or stain pattern. You can see in the figure the glass surface got some rainbow shades. The reason being colored zones or anisotropy or iridescence or leopard spots are stain marks. We can overcome this issue by identifying what is causing this problem, whether it is in heating or cooling. If it is in heating, decrease your furnace temperature and increase your heating time. If it is heating, set the longest possible oscillation length. If it is in quenching, clean your quench nozzles. If it is in quenching, you can optimize the first stopping point. And always care should be taken to have a good machine maintenance. You can see here this is the equipment that is used to measure the stress levels in the glass, known as the GASP, G-A-S-P, Glazing Angle Surface Polarimeter. Now we will understand how we are going to use this GASP. So the GASP works with the concept of light refraction. The glass will be having the below parts, as we can see here. The GASP will be having the different parts like battery pack, the protectors, leveling foot, all these things will be there. And how we are going to use this equipment on the glass. In order to measure the stress levels in the GASP, first we need to understand what is the air side and tin side of the glass, because during the glass manufacturing the glass is floating on tin. So the glass which the bottom side of the glass is known as tin side, and the surface which is towards the air is known as air side. So the GASP measurement should be done on the tin side. So we have one equipment known as tin side detector. This is a tin side tester which will give you which is the tin side and which is the air side. In the second figure, if you see, there is a fogginess in the surface which indicates it is a tin side. So first, in order to measure the stress levels, first we need to understand what is the air side and tin side in the glass, and the measurement should be taken on the tin side. Next, we will be placing a liquid index on the glass surface where we are going to measure the glass, and we will be measuring the glass for stress level at 5 different points. And inside the GASP you will be having a protector where we need to match the protector angle with the stress lines. You can see in the figure there is a line. We are trying to match the lines of the glass stress as well as the protector. Where your lines are parallelly matching, that reading we need to identify in the protector, and we will be having an equivalent protector dial versus this angle. You can see here the stress value, the angle compared to the stress value. Suppose for example, if you are getting a stress value of 58, the equivalent stress will be 67.36 MPa, you can say. So this is how you are going to measure the stress levels in the tempered or heat strengthened or annealed glass. Now we will be understanding how to measure the edge lift in the glass. If you see, this is a dual gauge edge measurement equipment. You can see here edge lift gauge. The procedure what we follow is, we will be taking the glass and we will be placing the glass on the flat table, as you can see here. So with the help of this dual gauge, as the glass is passing through heat treatment process, the glass edges will be having a leading edge and a trailing edge. The leading edge indicates the edge which is going first inside the furnace, and the trailing edge is followed by the leading edge. So we need to first place this gauge on the leading edge, and so we should make sure that the end dial gauge is matching at the end of the glass edge. We need to place this equipment at the center of the glass, and we need to move perpendicular to the glass surface, and we need to identify the readings what we get, that is the readings we get in the center dial gauge as well as the readings what we observe on the end dial gauge. The calculation will come like this. If my center indicator is giving 0.530 mm and my end indicator is giving 0.50 mm, so in order to measure the edge lift, I should subtract the center reading minus the end reading. So it should be 0.530 minus 0.504, which indicates 0.26. If I get a positive value, it indicates the edge lift is down facing. The same thing if I get centered indicator as 0.504 and end indicator as 0.530, when I subtract the center indicator minus end indicator, if I get a negative value, it indicates the edge lift is on the top surface. This is how with the help of dual gauge you are going to measure the edge lift in the glass. Now we will understand the breakage pattern for the heat strengthened glass, that is through destructive method, that is the fragmentation test. First what I should do is, I will be taking a heat strengthened glass of size 1100 by 360, as you can see in the figure. I will be taking a center point as 550 and I will be leaving a half inch, that is 13 mm from the edge. And with the help of hammer weighing 75 grams, I will be hitting the glass by protecting the edges of the glass through protective film. When I break a heat strengthened glass, the edges and the breakage pattern look like this. Where I am impacting, from there the crack shall go to the opposite side of the edge. And in order to make the observation, we should leave 25 mm on the periphery of the edges, and we need to see and also we need to ignore or we need to avoid 100 mm radius where we are punching the glass. After breaking, we need to understand the number of particles and islands. Here in this figure you can see 1 indicates the island and 2 indicates the particle. In a heat strength, for a proper heat strengthened glass, a glass should not have not more than 2 to 3 islands, and I need to have the fragments. So in order to judge a glass as a perfect heat strengthened glass, we need to understand the breakage pattern, we need to understand the number of islands and particles, and we need to weigh the islands and particles individually. We should make sure that the glass is having not more than 2 islands, and area or mass of the island shall not exceed 1000 square millimeter, and the area by mass of the particle shall not exceed 5000 square millimeter. This is how you are going to do the fragmentation test for heat strengthened glass. Now let us understand the steps or the tests what we follow under tempering or heat treatment process. During heat treatment process, glass gains a strength. The physical properties will not change, but there is an increase in the enhancement of the mechanical properties. Now, how you are going to determine the mechanical properties or the strength how a glass acquires through tests. One of the tests we follow in heat treatment process for a toughened glass is fragmentation test. So, let us take fragmentation test. The purpose of fragmentation test is to determine whether the glass breaks in the manner prescribed for a thermally toughened soda lime silicate safety glass. Generally, when you see any glass like annealed, the raw glass annealed, or a HS glass, heat strengthened glass, or a toughened glass, by a visual look you may not be in a position to trace out what is exactly what. Means whether you are selecting annealed glass or whether it is referring to HS glass or it is referring to toughened glass. One of the tests to identify whether it is a HS glass, annealed glass or a toughened glass is a fragmentation test. So with the help of breaking the breakage, you are going to, with the help of breakage pattern, you are going to determine whether it is an annealed glass or a HS glass or a toughened glass. Now let us understand the toughened glass procedure. So the purpose is when I break the glass, it should break in a manner so that I'll get a small granules like fragments. The SOP for this one is, first I'll be taking a specimen of 360 by 1100 mm without any holes, cutouts or notches. You can see in the figure my dimension is 1100 by 360. Second step is, each specimen I need to take out 5 samples to ensure my fragmentation toughened quality. Next, each test specimen shall be impacted using a pointed steel tool at a position of half inch, that is 13 mm from the longest edge of the test specimen at the midpoint of the edge until the breakage occurs. You can see in the figure my glass dimension is 1100 by 360 and my longer side is 1100, so I am taking a midpoint, that is 550, and from the midpoint I am leaving half inch, that is 13 mm, and from there I am impacting. The examples of steel tools are hammer of about 75 gram mass, a spring loaded center punch or either similar appliances with a hardened point. The radius of the curvature of the point should be approximately 0.2 mm. Next step, once the setup, glass and tools are ready, next we will start our execution of the test. The test specimen shall be laid flat on the table without any mechanical constraint. Next, in order to prevent the scattering of the fragments, the specimen shall be simply held at the edges by a small frame or adhesive tape so that the fragments remain interlocked after breakage, yet expansion of the specimen is not made hindered. You can see in the figure that we are applying a tape, adhesive tape, so that there is no scattering of the fragments. Next, the particle count and the measuring of the dimensions of the largest particle shall be made after the breakage of 3 to 5 minutes of the fracture. So, once after breakage, we should wait for minimum 3 to 5 minutes so that all the fractures are getting expanded, and an area of radius 100 mm centered on the impact point and a border of 25 mm round the edge of the test specimen shall be excluded. You can see in the figure, I have excluded all the 25 mm on the periphery, and from the impact point I am leaving a radius of 100 mm. Now, how you are going to get the conclusion? If you see, after my breakage I am going to get a fragments in this particular pattern for a toughened glass. The particle count shall be made in the region of coarsest fracture, that is, the aim being to obtain a minimum value. So after breakage I should select an area where my fragments are in minimum range. The particle count shall be made by placing a mask of 50 mm by 50 mm on the test specimen. You can see in the figure we have marked it 50 by 50 mm marking on the glass. After breakage we need to start counting. The number of crack-free particles within the mask shall be counted. A particle is said to be crack-free if it does not contain any cracks which run from one edge to another. The examination shall be completed within 5 minutes of fracturing the glass. So, I should count the number of particles within 5 minutes, and I should identify the crack-free particles. You can see in the 8th point, these are the particles that are known as crack-free. Examples of crack-free particles and the assessment regarding the number. You can see in the figure there are different types of particles with different cracks. In the particle count, all the particles whole contained within the area of the mask shall be counted as one particle, and all the particles which are partially within the mask shall be counted as half particle. So at the time of counting, if I get any particle which is in half of the masking area and half in the outer area, I should be calculating that particular particle as half particle. And you can see the minimum particle count. You can see in the table, if my glass thickness is between 4 to 12 mm, the minimum particle count in a 50 by 50 square plate should be minimum 40 particles, 40 numbers. If I am getting minimum 40 particle means I am ensuring that the toughening process has been successfully completed. Results. In order to classify a glass as a thermally toughened safety glass, the particle count of each test specimen shall not be less than the value given in the table. For example, if it is 6 mm thick, I should get a minimum 40 particle. The longest particle shall be chosen from the body of the test specimen. It shall not be in the excluded area. So we need to identify the longest particle and it should not be in the excluded area. In order to classify the glass as thermally toughened soda lime silicate safety glass, the length of the longest particle shall not exceed 100 mm. So basically I need to understand 3 points at the time of conclusion. What are the particle count that I am getting? It should be minimum 40 if my thickness is 4 to 12 mm. I need to see the longest particle and it should not be in the excluded area, and the longest particle length should be not more than 100 mm. So this is how I am ensuring the tempered glass quality through fragmentation test. Next, let us take the same fragmentation test for a heat strengthened glass. So when I break a heat strengthened glass, how the breakage pattern is going to be. Now let us see. The similar test setup remains the same as compared to the toughened glass. Here also the purpose of this fragmentation test for heat strengthened glass is the fragmentation test determines whether the glass breaks in the manner prescribed for a heat strengthened soda lime silicate glass. For this also we will be taking a sample of 1100 by 360 mm. I will be taking a 5 test specimens. I will be measuring the midpoint of the longer side, that is 550 mm, and I will be leaving half inch from the edge, that is 13 mm. With the help of center punch or any hammer, I will be impacting the glass. Before impacting, I will be ensuring that there is no scattering of the particles. And I need to, from the breakage point, I need to leave a 100 mm arc and I need to exclude 25 mm on periphery of the glass. Here if you see in the 6th figure, the examination shall be completed within the 5 minutes of the fracturing the glass. Each fragment produced during the test specimen shall be assessed as follows. At least one edge of the fragment shall reach the excluded area. The particle count and the measuring of the dimensions of the largest particle shall be made between 3 to 5 mm after the breakage. If you see, when I impact a glass, this is how a heat strengthened glass is going to break. You can see here in the figure, 7th figure, where there is no edge of the fragment reaches the excluded area, either an island or a particle is produced. After the breakage, if your fragment is not able to reach the excluded area, in that case you are going to get either an island or a particle. Now, particle is a fragment with area by mass equivalent less than or equal to 100 mm. When you are going to call a fragment as a particle means when your area by mass is less than or equal to 100 mm, and you are going to call it as an island where area by mass is greater than or equal to 100 mm. So I am repeating again, where no edge of the fragment reaches the excluded area, either an island or a particle is produced. Particles are the fragments with area by mass equivalent less than 100 mm. Islands are the fragments with area by mass equivalent greater than or equal to 100 mm. So when I am getting less than or equal to 100 mm, it is considered to be a particle. When I am getting more than 100 mm, it is considered to be an island. So once the glass got broken, so we need to see what are the number of islands and particles. The number of island fragments shall be counted and each island shall be weighed. The particles shall be collected and weighed. So after the breakage has happened, we need to see the breakage pattern, we need to see the number of islands, we need to see the number of particles, and we need to weigh the islands and particles. Now how you are going to conclude? At least 4 of the 5 specimens tested shall meet the following requirement in order for the product to be classified as the heat strengthened soda lime silicate glass. And the points are: 1 shall not have no more than 2 island fragments, shall not have any island fragments with area by mass equivalent exceeding 1000 square millimeter, shall not have the area by mass equivalent of all particles exceeding 5000 square millimeter. If one of the 5 specimens fails to meet these requirements, then it shall be meet or exceed the following requirement. In order for the product to be classified as the heat strengthened soda lime silicate glass, it shall not have no more than 3 island fragments, and the area by mass equivalent of islands and particles shall not exceed 50,000 square millimeter. So what I was discussing, how you are going to conclude after the breakage pattern. You need to see what are the number of islands in a breakage pattern. It should be not more than 2, and the weight of the island shall not be more than 1000 square millimeter, and the weight of the particles shall not exceed 5000 millimeter. If one of the 5 test specimens fails, then how we are going to conclude? It shall not have more than 3 island fragments, and the weight of the area by mass equivalent of island and particles shall not exceed 50,000 square millimeter. So this is how you are going to determine whether a glass is properly heat strengthened or not. Next, let us understand the concept of bend or bow in a glass. As the glass is passing through heating and cooling in the heat treatment process, the glass acquires bend or bow. So this is one test. Now we are going to see how we are going to measure bend or bow on a glass. Purpose: to establish and maintain documented lab procedure to verify the bend or bow of a heat treated glass. The bend or bow for a heat strengthened or a toughened glass remains the same. The SOP, the process or the setup remains the same. Let us understand. First of all, we need to, the pane of the glass shall be placed in a vertical position and supported on its longer side by 2 load bearing blocks at the quarter points. You can see in the figure, I am keeping the glass on a vertical position and I am keeping 2 load bearing blocks and I am positioning the blocks at the quarter points. Suppose if my panel size is 1000 mm, so I will be keeping the glass vertically and I will be taking 250 as my load bearing blocks. Next, the deformation shall be measured along the edges of the glass and along the diagonals as the maximum distance between the straight metal ruler or a stretched wire and the concave surface of the glass. If you see in the figure, if my glass is having bend or a bow, when I am measuring with the help of a straight edge or a straight ruler and I am using a taper gauge, when I am trying to insert taper gauge between the glass and the straight ruler, if I am able to find the gap between the glass and the straight ruler, that is my bend. That is how I am going to measure. So the deformation between the glass and the straight ruler will indicate about the bend. So you can see in the second figure, after the heat treatment process is over, there is a gap between the glass and the straight ruler. That is, we are going to measure with the help of taper gauge scale. Now, how you are going to conclude whether a glass is within the limit of bend or it is beyond the limit of bend? You can see in the standard, in a meter, 3 mm bend is allowed if it is my uncoated float glass. For an enameled glass, 4 mm bend is allowed. So the value for the bow is then expressed as the deformation in millimeters divided by the measured length of the edge of the glass or diagonal in a meter as appropriate. So when my panel size is 1000 mm, as per the standard, 3 mm bend is allowed. If my panel size is 2000 mm, 6 mm bend is allowed. This is how you are going to measure the bend in a glass. So to summarize, how we are going to measure the bend in the glass? First, we need to take a glass. We need to keep the longest side vertically and we need to have 2 supporting blocks at the quarter points of the size. Then we need to measure the deformation between the glass and the straight edge or the straight ruler with the help of a taper gauge scale. And as per the standard, for a 1000 mm panel, 3 mm bend is allowed. We have seen how we are going to measure the bend in a heat treated glass. Now let us see a video that will even demonstrate. If you see, I have taken the longest side and I have kept vertically and I have kept setting blocks at the quarter position and I am measuring the deformation between the glass and the straight edge with the help of a taper gauge. You can see here my taper gauge is able to go inside up to 2.5 to 3 mm. So you can say in this particular glass the bend is 2.5 mm. You can see the setup here. Vertically I am stacking and I am using a setup blocks at the quarter positions and with the help of straight edge ruler and a taper gauge I am measuring the bend. Okay, now let us understand the concept of roller wave. So what is a roller wave? If you see the glass, what we known as a heat treatment process, the glass is getting strength through heating and cooling, and the movement of the glass is on the rollers. As the glass is passing on the rollers, there is always chances of roller impressions coming on the glass. Now we need to understand how you are going to measure the roller wave. When a glass is having heavy roller wave, you are going to get a distorted image. So we need to see how far we are going to control the roller wave and what is the tolerances for roller wave. Now let us see one more video. If you see, I am taking a glass and I am making sure that as the glass is moving on the roller, the tin side, the bottom surface will be in contact with the roller. So I need to place the bottom surface on top of the glass, and the measurement of the roller wave should be perpendicular to the direction of the glass. Generally, we send the glass width parallel to furnace. At the time of measuring the roller wave, I should make sure that the glass is whichever the surface in contact with the roller, I am keeping on the top, and I am using a flatness table to ensure I am nullifying the gravitational force. And with the help of a roller wave gauge, you can find here roller wave gauge. I am replaying here this video. You can find here the roller wave gauge which has two dial gauges. If you see the center gauge, right now it is showing 0.06, 0.05. You need to focus on the center gauge. It is showing 0.06 again. And if you see, on an average, it is fluctuation between 0.04 to 0.07. So the roller wave is nothing but the glass is moving on rollers and it is going through peaks and valleys. So we need to calculate the summation of the peak and valley. If you see the minimum value in this, initially it came 0.0 and the maximum value what it is showing is 0.07. So the roller wave is nothing but the summation of the peak and the valley. So with the help of the center gauge roller wave equipment, we can say that the roller wave in this particular glass is 0.07. You can again recheck the roller wave. You can see the starting is 0.02. Now it is going. You focus on the center dial gauge. Whichever we need to capture the minimum and the maximum value. And the maximum we came out to be 0.07. So the roller wave in this particular glass is 0.07. To summarize, in order to measure the roller wave gauge, I need to make sure the glass surface which is in contact with the rollers to be kept on top. The measurement of the roller wave gauge is done with the help of roller wave gauge, and the glass should be placed on a flatness table to ensure or to nullify the gravitational force. And we need to move the equipment, the roller wave gauge, along perpendicular to the glass surface, and we need to note down the minimum and the maximum value in the dial gauge. And it should be the summation of the peak and the valley. If you see the roller wave gauge for the float glass in accordance with EN 572 and EN 572 part 1 and part 2, it is 0.3 mm. And for the enameled glass, it is 0.5 mm. Now let us understand what is edge lift. In order to understand this, let us take one more video which will elaborate the edge lift. What is edge lift and how it is going to come on a glass. Edge lift is nothing but the distortion what we get on edges. In order to measure the equipment, it can be done in two ways. If you see the first way, where with the help of a knife edge and a filler gauge, I am trying to measure the edge lift. The procedure for this one is, I need to take a glass on a flatness table. I need to make sure that generally edge lift you get on the top surface. So I need to make sure that the glass is facing on the top side in the furnace, means the measurement of the edge lift should be on the top surface, and it should be placed on a flatness table by leaving a 100 mm hanging in the table, and with the help of a knife edge and a feeler gauge, I can measure the edge lift. The measurement should be perpendicular to the direction of the glass. If you see here, I have taken a knife edge and I am trying to insert the filler gauges into the scale. Whichever scale is not able to fit inside the knife edge, that shall give me my edge lift. If you see in this particular video, my edge lift in this glass is 0.10 mm. So this is how you are going to measure the edge lift with the help of a feeler gauge and a knife edge. Now let us understand the edge lift concept with the help of edge lift gauge. If you see in this video, there are two dial gauges. One is edge gauge and the second one is center gauge. When I am moving the edge lift gauge on the surface of the glass, you can find out there is a changes in the values of the end gauge and the center gauge. The concept or the working instructions for this particular edge lift gauge is, I need to subtract the center gauge reading minus the end gauge reading. That will give you my edge lift value. We need to understand, if my value is coming positive, the edge lift is on the bottom surface, and if my edge lift value is coming negative, my edge lift is on the top surface. If you say the end gauge, it is showing 0.12 and the center gauge, it is showing 0.05. If you focus on the readings, we need to identify what is the differences in the readings. You see it was for the end gauge 0.12 and the center gauge it was 0.07. So if I subtract center gauge minus edge gauge, that is 0.07 minus 0.12. So my edge lift is, it is coming to be around 0.07 and it is a minus value, which indicates the edge lift is on the bottom surface. Minus indicates it is on the top surface and plus indicates the edge lift is on the bottom surface. Now the same concept what we have discussed so far, you can see here measurement of edge lift gauge through measurement of edge lift on flatness table with the help of edge lift gauge. I am taking the glass and I am placing on the flat support table and I am moving with the help of edge lift gauge. I am moving the gauge across the surface of the glass. I am making sure that the end gauge is exactly matching the edge of the point. If you see with both dial gauges indicate set to 0 as described, place the instrument on the surface of the fully supported glass at the appropriate center line of the glass such that its long axis is perpendicular to the leading or trailing edge of the glass. As it is emerged from the furnace, the tip of the end digital indicator should be placed as close as the edge as possible. So when I am taking a glass and placing on the flatness table and I am placing the end gauge as close as possible to the edge of the glass, you can see in the figure. So this is my end indicator and the other one is my center indicator. So the readings, for example, I am measuring on a 6 mm glass. The center indicator came to be 0.530 mm and the end indicator came to be 0.504 mm. So my actual edge lift comes out to be, it is center indicator minus end indicator, which is 0.530 minus 0.504, which is positive 0.0026, which indicates downside. I am getting the edge lift on the downside. The similar case, if my center indicator is 0.504 and end indicator is 0.530, when I am subtracting center indicator minus end indicator, if I am getting a negative value, which indicates my edge lift is in the top surface. You can see the edge lift values as per the tolerances or the standards. If my glass is a float glass, if my glass thickness is 3 mm, the maximum values of edge lift allowed is 0.5 mm. And if my glass thickness is between 4 to 5 mm, the edge lift maximum value allowed is 0.4 mm. And if my glass thickness is between 6 to 12 mm, the edge lift maximum allowable is 0.3 mm. And for the enamel glasses, it is 0.5 mm. Now let us understand the concept of stress in the glass. As we have discussed, during the heat treatment process, glass acquires strength. The strength in the form of heating and cooling. When someone gives you an annealed glass, HS glass or a toughened glass, by visually you cannot determine which is annealed, which is HS, which is toughened. So to identify or to distinguish which is what, we have two methods. One is known as a destructive method, what we have seen earlier, that is a fragmentation test where we are going to break the glass. And now, but at site levels, it is always not possible to keep on breaking the glasses. So we need to understand the concept of non-destructive method, that is with the help of GASP, glazing angle surface polarimeter. This is one equipment that is used to measure the stress in the glass that is being induced during heat treatment process. So this is how a GASP will look. You can see the parts of this equipment. So in order to measure the stress levels in the glass, certain points I need to keep in mind. First thing, the measurement of the stress should be always on the tin surface. That is, the glass which is in contact with the rollers, on that surface I need to measure the gasp, that is the stress value. Second point, I need to identify which is the tin side and then which is the non-tin side. In order to measure the gasp measurement, always the measurement should be on the tin side. During the manufacturing of the glass will be moving on a molten tin bath, one where the top surface of the glass will be facing the air side and the bottom surface will be in touch with the tin. Surface which is in touch with the tin is known as tin side surface, and the glass which is in the top side is known as top surface. The measurement of gasp should be always on the tin side. So, and by visually in checking the glass, one may not be able to identify which is the tin side and which is the air side. So in order to identify, we have one equipment known as tin side tester. You can see in the figure, that is a tin side tester. When I place on the glass surface, if I am getting a hazy impression, that indicates it is a tin side surface. If I am not able to get any hazy impression, that is my air surface. So the measurement of gasp shall be on tin surface. You can see in the third figure, this is how I am going to place the glass. After identifying which is the air side, which is the tin side, I need to place the gasp equipment on the tin surface. If you see, on the gasp, you have this protractor angle. I need to make sure that the stress lines or the fringes on the glass and the gasp polarimeter angle should be parallel with each other, like as shown in the figure. When I am getting perfect parallel of the gasp angle and the stress angle, that is my stress value. If you see in the table, there is corresponding table where my angle is matching with the stress line. For example, if my angle is at 45 degree and the corresponding equivalent stress value is 6105, that is the unit is pounds per square inch. Similarly, it is equivalent to 42.09 when it comes to megapascal. So, in order to measure the stress levels for a toughened glass, the stress value is considered to be more than 69 MPa or Newton per square millimeter. And for a heat strengthened glass, the stress value is considered to be 24 to 52 Newton per square millimeter or MPa.